Here, read this.
Woof.
What is it about those poor Bronte sisters that attracts so much nonsense and disrespect? Whether it's a new film adaptation, a new play, or a new book, they get more than their fair share of stupid stuff thrown their way. I've just been reading an article on The Guardian. It's an interview, actually, with a director who's got a new play about the Brontes that's about to debut on the National Theatre. The article is called Wuthering Fights, imaginatively, if you would like to look it up. It's the play that shows the Brontes were bigger backstabbers than the Kardashians. A stench of desperation to get young people into the theatre there. Are the Kardashians even sort of still relevant for young people? I've no idea. They've been used in articles like this as a lure for the young for as long as I can remember. Anyway, here, I'll give you a bit of the article and we'll just react to it as we go along. Natalie Ibu is about to make her National Theatre debut directing a new play about the Bronte sisters, but the Kardashians keep creeping in. Quite a frightening image, that, isn't it? Just a sort of trio of bum-first golems skedaddling down the stalls. I imagine that's because the Kardashians are just such fans of the Brontes. I'm constantly comparing them, says Ibu, because they're the ultimate disruptors. And there are also three sisters with a brother that no one really remembers. We may not like what they stand for, but they are successful and exquisite at what they do. First of all, disruptors is such a rancid kind of tech bro term. Or maybe not even tech bro, just it's such a marketing term, isn't it? You think of people going, I'm here to disrupt the barista quality, low-fat oat milk space. I'm going to disrupt it. This new product is going to totally disrupt the literary bath time space. Three sisters with a brother that no one really remembers. Sure, I mean, I don't know how many Kardashians there are. I didn't know there was a brother. But with Branwell, it's not so much that no one really remembers him, so much that he is remembered for being the one that didn't have the same success as his sisters. He sort of is remembered, even if he's remembered as an absence. And they are successful and exquisite as what they do. I mean, sod off. Oscar Wilde was tremendously successful at what he did, and I've got a big fat arse. So yeah, I guess we're both exquisite. Ibu is well aware that some will see this as an appalling slight against the 19th century daughters of a country clergyman who disrupted the canon by producing some of the most important novels in the English language. Yeah, but how fat were their arses? Were they exquisite at disrupting the discourse with their arses, their fat arses? She means no disrespect, either to them or to those who know and revere their work, but the idea that we can't talk about the Kardashians in the same breath as the Brontes, I find deeply offensive, she says. Never mind why that would be deeply offensive. Is that even an idea? Do people think that you can't talk about the Brontes and the Kardashians in the same breath? Has anyone ever cared about that? This is something that struck me before about Brontes. When that film came out, Emily, I did a video on the channel about an interview with the director, and it had this weird edge to it about, this isn't the Emily Bronte your mother told you about. I'm going to really stick it to the Bronte historians. That was it. The Bronte historians are going to have a tough time with me. Why? Why are Bronte historians picked out as the kind of avatar of cultural gatekeeping? Are Bronte historians famously set in their ways, famously resistant to new scholarship? Pretty sure from the Bronte people I know, and I don't know many, that they would welcome new films, new plays, even if they would struggle to take their historian hat off when reviewing the finer details. That's how it goes with adaptations. But this whole time for a wrong side of the tracks Brontes is so embarrassing. Our audiences are cultural consumers who go wherever they find something they like. Pigs to the cultural trough, they are, my audience, my paying audience. Not much more than a snout and an arse. Speaking of which, that's the Kardashians creeping back in. I want them to be fans of theatre in the way they are a fan of Harry Styles. Again, just rank desperation. In a key scene, Anne berates her sister for gazumping her novel Agnes Grey with Jane Eyre. Charlotte has this great line, I'm telling you, the novels could not be more different. Mine is strange and gothic and intense. Yours is realistic. That is a great line. She is creating a narrative that excuses what she's done, but it also makes an important point that male writers tread over the same ground with endless stories about kings, and no one questions them. So why can't two women not write? So why can two women not write in the same space? God, I mean, pick the pips out of that. Can you imagine Anne Bronte describing her own novel as strange and intense and very aesthetic, very dark academia? It's very a vibe, very a vibe. Tremendously a vibe. Secondly, male writers tell endless stories about kings and no one questions them, so why can't two women write in the same space? Well, following the logic of your point, you're talking about stylistic differences with women. You're saying, why can't we inhabit the same space? I write stuff that's like really tremendously a vibe, and you write stuff that's like super literal. Whereas men just write stories about kings. The style doesn't come into it at all. It's just a story about a king, isn't it? That's all men write about. And tractors, and farts, and beer, and boobs. It's a question that resonates strongly for Ibu, the question of why two women cannot write in the same space, who prides herself on being a bit of a disruptor too. You don't say. Why, she asks, when 51% of the population are female, so we're not a minority, are we still made to feel marginal, that there's not enough room for us? Because it's profitable. It's a profitable idea to put it about, that your opportunities aren't opportunities. You're 6 points clear at the top of the league on the final day of the season, trying to get your supporters worried about an ankle strain to your third goalkeeper. And I feel the pressure of that across all my identities. It's intersectional, she adds. When you're also black and queer and working class, it only becomes more heightened, that feeling of not being allowed to be my full self because my value is only from one perspective. Sure. Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that when you've gone to theatres, they've welcomed one of those identities, but really clammed up when you mention the others. No, female, black, queer, and working class. No, theatres won't like the sound of that. It's not theatres. Theatres hate that kind of thing. No, you never, ever see that. You never hear the word intersectional in relation to theatre and commissioning theatre. No, they come down on it very hard. Famously, they consider more than one identity at the same time, pretty much wearing a hat on the hat, which the costume budget simply can't afford in a cost of living crisis. Her next ambition, she says, is all about scale. I want to reach as many people as possible because I believe that theatre changes people and people change the world, and scale enables me to do that, she says. That's the acceptable way of saying, I'm selling out. Theatre is my activism, so why would I restrict that to 50 people in a studio? Quality and effectiveness of activism, engineering a kind of activism that isn't restricted to herd-like generalities. It's an ambition that she acknowledges may eventually take her out of theatre altogether. No shit. This is very much the write a novel in order to get that film made type route. People with an established relationship with the Brontes are welcome to the show, she says, but it's also for the 17-year-old girl who thinks they have nothing to say to her. Well, I mean, Brontes have always had such rotten luck with the 17-year-old girl market. Finally, the Brontes are for teenage girls as well. My own relationship with the Brontes began with this play. No kidding. I'm very honest about that, she adds. For so long, I was ashamed of all the things I didn't know, all the books I hadn't read, and all the plays I hadn't seen. I now think that it is my superpower as a leader and an artistic curator. What, not having read anything and not knowing anything? What an extraordinary thing to claim, that it's your superpower to be really badly prepared, to not know anything that might be relevant to your project, and to have not read anything. That's kind of my superpower, really. To not really have thought about this much. To kind of have slacked off. Not being asked, really, is sort of my superpower, really. Not giving a shit is what makes me such a hero. I mean, I'm beginning to like her now.